You're live, Chairman. Thank you.
Good evening members and officers. I'd like to welcome you all to this Performance, Governance and Audit Committee meeting held on the 16th of January, I've got it right this month, members, at 7:30 p.m. at District Council offices in Maldon District Council. My name is Councillor Wendy Stamp and I'm the chairperson of this committee. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present at the meeting, you are giving consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak, and I will invite you at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with cameras and live stream. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when you're finished. Please reference a page and paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. We do not have a fire alarm testing schedule for today. If you hear the alarm, please exit using either the two marked fire escape routes. Once out of the building, please proceed to the designated muster point located on the grass verge by the police station. Thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Can I have the apologies for absence, please, Miss Bird?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, apologies been received from Councillor Miller, Councillor Siddle Norman and Councillor Stilts, and Councillor Morgan is attending as a substitute for Councillor Miller. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr Smith, welcome. You missed the last meeting, didn't you?
Yes, and it appears that I'm not a member as regards this meeting. I don't know if I've upset anybody, but I'm not listed under the membership.
You should be on the front as the independent person, so I do apologise.
Yeah,
we'll
no
make
problem.
sure that we put you back on. Maybe because we missed you last time.
Thank you.
Nice to see you back anyway. Okay, moving on, members. Agenda item 3, minutes. To confirm the minutes of the Performance, Governance and Audit Committee held on the 5th of December 2024, found on pages 5 to 10. Members, are they approved? Are they an accurate and true record? I so propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pratt. Does anybody have any accuracy concerns, members, or can we just approve by assent? Agreed. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 4, matters arising. They can be found on pages 11 to 14. There was a couple of follow-ups, as I remember. I know it says for noting, members, but you know I like us to make sure that if we have got matters arising, they're actually dealt with and not just noted. So, Miss Hughes, you were going to come back for something with Councillor Pratt regarding training. I think I raised it at the pre-agenda meeting. Have you got an answer for that, Miss Hughes, please?
Yeah, Councillor Pratt met with myself and Councillor Hayward as the chair of the Member Training Working Group and took his feedback to the Member Training Working Group where that was picked up.
Okay, but did we have any details? Councillor Pratt, is there anything you would like to report back on that? No, okay.
Yeah, I think the general note covers it. We discussed some more detail and some more information that's in the pack, that was all.
Okay, and you're happy with that, Councillor Pratt? Okay. The other point we need to pick up, Mr Dodson, was we are arranging a follow-up with Mr Smith. I spoke to him before the meeting, and we are going to arrange a diary date when we get together to answer those problems. Is that all right? Is that all right with you, Mr Smith? Okay. So can we agree matters arising, members, for noted? Agreed. Thank you very much. Okay. Right, moving on. Declarations of interest, agenda item 5, to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also required to disclose any such interest as soon as they become aware, should the need arise throughout the meeting. Members, does anybody got anything to declare? No, nothing there, Miss Bird. Agenda item 6, moving swiftly on, public participation. Miss Bird, have we got any public participation? I don't believe so, but...
No, Chairman, we don't have any.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the main items on the agenda. Agenda item 7, which can be found on pages 15 to 24. It's the review of corporate risk quarter 2. Ms Hughes, if I hand it over to you and then I will go for the recommendations. Is that agreeable?
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you, Ms Hughes.
So this report is an extract of the Corporate Risk Register as of quarter 2, which is the end of September 2024. There were 14 active risks, and the breakdown of these is shown at Appendix 1 to the report. There were no changes for the existing corporate risk ratings or direction changes between quarter 1 and quarter 2. However, a new corporate risk has been raised, which is the uncertainty of impacts to projects and service delivery due to national legislation changes due to the change in government. The report is provided for review and challenge, and also for the committee's assurance that corporate risk is being managed effectively.
Thank you, Ms Hughes. Right, members, the recommendations are that members review the corporate risk register in Appendix 1 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. Little 2, that members review progress and corporate risk mitigation actions in Appendix 2 and provide comments and feedback for consideration. Little 3, that members are assured through this review that corporate risk is at risk and is being managed effectively. Little 4, that members challenge risk where the committee feels that the council's corporate goals may not be achieved. I would like to propose that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Members, would anybody like to comment? Or are we okay with them? With all right. Mr Smith.
Yes, thank you. Generally, I thought the report was very good. My only concern would be on the new item we've added in the last few weeks. Not only has there been a lot of political turmoil, but there have been a number of reports talking about a loss of business confidence, particularly on small retail businesses and on hospitality sector and so on. There's been one from the Institute of Chartered Accountants, one from the CBI, and I just wonder if we ought to somehow pay greater attention to the folk within our constituency who fall into those categories.
Okay.
I'm not sure as to what the solution is, but it's quite clear that there is an impending problem in terms of taxation. Obviously, you've got it with IHT and small farmers and all that sort of thing, and I just don't know what impact there would be. And if somebody said to me, what are the council doing about it? I'm not sure I have an answer.
Oh, thank you. Great question. I think we discussed it at the Finance Working Group, or one of the working groups I've been on recently. It was discussed. Officers, does anybody... Doug, do you want to comment?
Chair, yes. I think Mr. Smith, there's a lot of uncertainty, isn't there, around information that's coming out from central government. There's some stuff there that we have very little control over, with it being central government policy. I think the stuff that we are putting on the corporate risk register is more related to things like devolution and local government reorganisation, which will impact on us more greatly in the LGR stuff, less so on the devolution. But again, I still think that the facts are still quite unclear. I think it's prudent for us to put it on the corporate risk register. We internally will be looking at a communication strategy to keep internal staff members up to date with information. I think it's incumbent on us to try and keep our website up to date, to keep the public informed where it relates to Maldon District Council activities. So I agree around the uncertainty, and we will do our utmost to try and keep people informed of the facts to avoid as much speculation as possible.
Thank you. Mr Dodson, would you like to comment at all?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think that's... I would.
I know you would, I could tell. I could just tell.
I think in regard to the businesses themselves and the issues that you raised, Mr Smith, I think there's two areas of that. One is, we are addressing that and looking at that through the business support and the business advice. We give make available to businesses, and we have a regular forum that gives them an opportunity to present that. We're also, we do address the cost of living crisis and the impact that it might be on residents through that. I think in terms of corporate risk regarding that, the risk to us would be around business rates and income, you know, that directly affect the council itself. But I don't think at the moment I think the fact that there's not certainty that there are going to be challenges around business rates, etc. I don't think it's of a magnitude that would mean to any change to the risks that we have on the register at the moment. Thanks.
Councillor Spenceley, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So Ms Hughes has reminded us as well that the current risk register is up to September, of course, which predates the budget. So obviously the new risks will be embedded. My own comment, R35, which is the new risk about new policy and legislation, that's a kind of generic one, and I've seen that same risk in different sectors over the years, but obviously that will be embedded in the specifics as things develop and as the risk register is updated. The other thing I'd like to say is to express gratitude for the acronym table. I'm getting used to the alphabet soup that is local government, but I think if we see that in every document we get, it will be fantastic.
Thank you. Councillor Pratt, please.
Thank you, Chair. Reading what Councillor Spencer said and the Chief Executive, does that mean that R35 will be expanded to include the legislation over changing local governments? Because at the moment it doesn't allude to that at all, and I was going to ask a question on that, but you're both alluding that it will change. I'd just like clarification as to how will it change.
Councillor Pratt, that's correct. Yes, and again, this is a backward-looking report, and as things emerge, we will, as we do with the risk register, we will review it and see is it still accurate or does it need to expand and be broken down into smaller items.
If I could come back, because
Certainly.
we're going to need to reassure staff, to a lesser degree members, that devolution. They must be concerned, because if we're going to slim down by a tier, if not 2 tiers, then that has a work concern for our staff.
I'm going to give you some leeway. You can talk about devolution if you want, because it is really important, but we have been speaking about this, and the jobs are still most probably there, aren't they? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. Absolutely, Councillor Pratt. And as an organisation, we're developing a communication strategy internally for our staff. Clearly, we'll be reviewing the impact of what it all means to us as an organisation as the facts start to emerge. But we are very conscious of possible implications to the organisation, to services, and to our staff, and we're very sensitive to that position as well.
Thank you. Oh, God. Councillor Burwood. I want to call you Simon, and I apologise if I'm calling you Doug. It should be Mr Wilkinson. I do apologise.
Thank you, Chair. It's really in relation to that one and the comments just made by Mr Williamson, and linking it into R14, which is the unable to recruit and retain staff. So looking forward, are we still going to be actively recruiting to cover vacancies and any staff that move on? Thank you.
Yeah, please do. Yes.
It is Mr Wilkinson.
Yeah, I'm going to sound just checked. I think, oh God, Wendy, you can't have got it wrong.
Yes. And again, I agree. The risk of recruiting and retention has been an ongoing one around sort of geography and professional disciplines, etc. And again, until more information comes out, we won't know exactly how that impacts on things like that. So we are very much keeping a watch and brief on all of that.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Can I ask, do we all agree by assent then? Agreed. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8. This is the corporate performance quarter 2. Ms Hughes, would you like to do the honours, and then I will do the recommendations, please?
So this report covers performance against our corporate plan, And again, this is as of Q2, so at the end of September 2024. As highlighted in section 3.1.1 of your covering report, broadly, the 6 corporate priorities are on track, but supporting our communities, smarter finances and greener future all have conditional elements, although these aren't marked as a concern for the end of September. Appendix 1, which is then found on pages 27 to 38 of your agenda pack, gives the breakdown of the KPIs and the data that inform the scoring. It should be noted that a new corporate plan was agreed by Council in December 2024, and accordingly, a revision to corporate performance is currently taking place. Q3 reports will be the last tracking of this current format, this current report, and then in Q1 we'll start to report against the new corporate plan. Committee members, just as a side note, have been invited to a session to feedback on the draft reporting, which is scheduled for Thursday the 27th of February. Members are invited to review the information and challenge performance and confirm assurance through this process that performance is being managed effectively.
Thank you, Ms Hughes. Right, members, we are asked that members review the information as set out in this report and Appendix 1 with priority focus given to the strategic priority level performance. Little 2, that members confirm they are assured through the review that corporate performance is being managed effectively. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Spenceley. Members, would you like to ask any questions, please? Councillor Pratt, please.
I don't have a question, Chair. I just compliment the fact that the whole report is green, and that makes our work very easy. The comment is, because we write it, is it green because we want it to be, or how do we actually penetrate under the skin and say, well, how green is green?
Fair comment. Mr Dodson, do you want to answer that one rather than Mr Wilkinson? Or I don't mind.
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
We make every attempt to be as honest and clear as possible. I think that there are varying degrees within the report where you can see that it's dark green is on track and lighter green is with where issues are arising, and often these outcome indicators are informed by a number of individual indicators that are combined to give that. And, you know, where it says that there are issues as part of that, then that might be that one of the indicators that where it says on track conditional elements, that might be one of those is challenging at the moment. But certainly they're all backed up by data and evidence, so you can be assured that they are accurate, and we do. You know, they go through challenge within the officer process as well. You know, officers compile this, and then it's challenged and interrogated at a CLT meeting to ask those same questions. So it's as honest and as clear and evidence-based as we can make it.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mr Wilkinson first and then Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you, Chair. And again, just to give added reassurance, especially as I'm relatively new now into the organisation, just to back up what Mr Dodson has said, is that we do have a performance governance board, an internal performance governance board, where the officers bring it to myself and Mr Dodson as the corporate leaders, and we do certainly challenge the figures, the transparency, the support and information to make sure that this is credible information that's coming before members.
Thank you. Councillor Spenceley, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to follow up that theme by just probing on one detail on page 35 for my own understanding, really. So number of affordable homes delivered is on track, but if you look at the table just above to the right, for 24-25, it's 60 homes delivered. Now, the hashed line at the top suggests an annual target of about 210. So even if you double the 60 for the rest of the year, it gives us 120. And the trajectory is dropping from 33 to 27. Just want to probe on that one to see how that is green. I may be missing something completely there.
I think Mr. Winslow is on the call. I think I've got the wrong glasses on, but oh yeah, there he is. Thank you. Mr. Winslow, would you like to come back?
I can, Chair, but it would also be Mrs. Wheatley, because this is also part of the operational part of delivering affordable housing through registered partners. But I can certainly comment from the developer part, which is more associated with planning. In respect of the tables in front of you, as Councillor Spenceley's summarised, what's now obviously presented is what's secured through the planning system and how that relates to the kind of targets. But the number of affordable homes delivered is what the market's putting up based on the consents that it's got. Now, you can see that in the far left-hand table that there's 1,400 units approved, 633 built, and in respect of the number of affordable homes table delivered, that's the components that are delivered by the registered providers and developers. I don't know if Mrs. Wheatley would like to comment any further, because the number of affordable homes delivered element is monitored by the Housing Service.
Ms. Wheatley, would you like to jump on, please?
Yes, no,
Thank
that's
you.
fine. So this is something that is monitored. I have to admit, we are, as part of the highlight report, we do flag affordable housing as being an issue, in that we do believe that we are still short of affordable housing. So I will need to go back and double check to make sure that we are delivering against those targets. I will need to speak with our housing manager and just confirm those, because as you say, we have a number in the pipeline, but we are still short certainly of things like 3-bed to meet that housing need.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is September 24, so our housing targets will change in due course anyway, won't they? So it's all, yes, okay, thank you. Mr. Smith, please.
Yes, sorry. Can I start by saying I think the information in this document is incredibly helpful and very good, but I have struggled because I think we have two management concepts that are not sufficiently distinguished, in that what we're describing as KPIs are not actually KPIs. They're key performance targets or quests. Helping the economy thrive is not a KPI. It's not an indicator. What we've set out is a series of targets, and I would then expect within your mind to be saying helping the economy thrive by, and then indicating what you're doing there, and then having a series of indicators that determine whether or not it's green, red or whatever. So I think the actual linguistics of the document doesn't help the understanding, because all of the things we've got down as KPIs are not KPIs. They're targets or objectives. And I would like to see, flowing from that we set out the goals, because really these are about your vision and your mission and so on, rather than about how you measure the performance. And then for there to be, coming from that, a list of what your particular goals are and how you're going to measure them, and then to have, if you like, a comprehensive list of KPIs where you can classify those between the really significant ones and those that aren't.
Okay,
So I
your
hope
comments
that
are
makes sense.
noted,
Yeah.
but I'm going to actually go to an officer if they want to come back. But it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know, I'm always happy to be corrected, Mr. Dodson. There's information behind this, isn't there? What they're called, scorecard things or whatever?
Balanced scorecard.
There you go. There is that information there, and if there is a problem, or maybe with the wording, we can look at adjusting that, because it maybe needs for clarity. But I think I can reassure you that all the information is actually behind the scenes. And if you have got any questions, the officers sitting along here or whoever who's on the screens could maybe delve a little bit behind that to maybe help and support you. But Mr. Dodson, you know this system better than I do. I'm not an officer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And you know, to some extent, I think we are doing what Mr. Smith describes there, because, you know, we have the overall help the economy to thrive target, And the graphs underneath show exactly that, the activity that is happening to ensure that we're working towards that overall target. So, you know, you'll see total number of subscribers to the business communications channels showing the input work that we're doing to enable that to happen, and the number of businesses reached by each activity, and then evidence around the Visit Maldon figures and the work that we're doing through tourism. So all of that activity does contribute to that overall key target around helping the economy to thrive. But I'm happy to discuss the issues that you've raised when we have our meeting that was highlighted at the start of the meeting.
I think so, because we could all do some improvements, can't we? And that's why we have Mr Smith on this committee to give us some suggestions. So thank you very much for that. Well, members, any more questions? No? So I've already proposed it and had a seconder. Can we agree by assent, please?
Agreed.
Thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item 9. This is the annual governance statement actions update, and this is Miss Hughes again. Hang on, would you like to leave? Because we can. Oh, if you want to go, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Miss Hughes, if you would like to present this report for me, please, I'd be very grateful.
So each year we review our governance arrangements in the annual governance statement, and then we also set out areas of improvement for the following year. So this report gives an update on the actions that were identified in the 23-24 annual governance statement. Section 3.5 of the report details the actions and also a bit of a text update as at the end of Q2. So again, this is the end of September. So although no actions have been moved to complete for this quarter, they all continue to show progress, and that's demonstrated in the commentary, which is shown on the table. Members are asked to review the update and challenge where necessary.
Thank you, Ms Hughes. Members, the recommendation is that the committee reviews the annual governance statements table and updates below and challenges wherever necessary. I so propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Spenceley. Thank you very much. Members, have we got any questions? I've got one. Sorry, I've been very good so far, Mr Wilkinson. I normally have a lot more to say than this. Could somebody help me out on the whistleblowing policy and procedure? Now, I can remember this came to an audit. Mr Dodson, you might be able to help me. I think you was on it when Ms Lucas was section 151. And I can remember having the pre-agenda meet, and it took me, I don't know, over a day because I went through it with a fine-tooth comb. And we suggested that the whistleblowing policy, I think in all honesty, members, I think it was viewed, I don't know if you were my deputy then, reviewed it as though we found it more of an issue than the remedials and the work that was going to be done to follow it up regarding the audit. Now, I thought we were actually going to look at doing some more positive, quick work on the whistleblowing policy, because we felt it was quite important that officers and staff members maybe had some information or a little card on their desks or anything like that. Do you know if that's still actually on the cards or on the agenda? Because when I've read that, it sort of, to me, I read that and I was thinking, oh, that's going at a slow pace, Mr Dodson. Now, I don't mean to be unfair, and I could most probably wrong, it maybe isn't going at a slow pace. But it didn't inspire me that was maybe seen as the same priority as what we did at that time when we went through that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think as well as the audit, we did update the policy, and I think it was Councillor Spenceley who raised some of the issues that led to that report coming back. And so I think it's maybe sort of 18 months or so ago that policy was updated, and I think the audit has happened since then.
I think I was in the chair, so it can't have been. I've only been in the chair here since May, unless it was the previous time.
It must have, the report, the policy came back, right. And then I think the audit came back, which is what you're referring to.
Yes.
That came through. I'll have to check, to be honest, on the detail of where we are in addressing those audit actions, but obviously that will be reported at the next committee in any case, which is PGA audit.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay. As long as it is being taken
Absolutely.
in the... Yeah, thank you. I haven't filled you in on that because we've not had a conversation about that and you wasn't here, but I'm sure I will. Members, well, I'm happy with that response and I'll keep an... Miss Green, is it you then that can answer that question?
Yeah, I was just going to give a bit of an update because we did introduce a form back in November, which was a new anonymous form which staff could quickly link to on our main Fresh Service page. So yes, that has been done.
Oh, brilliant. I'm reassured by that because it would... Yeah, thank you. Members, can we agree by assent?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 10. Now, this is the amended contract procured rules in line with legislation under the Procurement Act 2023. Now, this is, I'm sure we've all read it, haven't we, members? Look, it's a great big document, lots of information in there. Miss White, Debbie White, are you here? Would you like to present the report for me? Yeah, thank you. And I did congratulate you at the pre-agenda meeting on this, so well done.
Thank you. Yeah, the contract procedure rules have been updated to reflect the implementation of the new Procurement Act 2023 and subsequently the procurement regulations 2024. Which will take effect as of February 24th, 25. So they are now completed. There is one caveat. We've had an audit going on. They have had a look through and having looked at some of our contracts as samples for the audit, they have suggested that at page, I believe it's 79 and 80, where I've been pretty strict, to be honest.
Officers' responsibilities, do you mean? And assistant directors?
Where all contracts have to have a risk register, KPIs, and everything has to be maintained throughout the life cycle of the contract. Audit have recommended that we put a caveat in as to when there's a licence, such as an IT software licence, where it's literally just switched on and switched off at the end, that we just say we're proportionate and relevant to the contract.
Okay, well, has that gone through CLT? You happy with that, Mr Wilkinson and Mr Dodson? It's more of an officers and directors.
Chair, yes. Ms White mentioned this to me and give the explanation or the examples of when this would apply. So if we procure some software that has a licence, clearly that's just an annual renewal if it's been through the process and wouldn't require all that bureaucracy. So I think it's taking a pragmatic approach to the management of the contract where appropriate and proportionate.
Okay. Ms Bird, I'm going to need your guidance here because do we need to then put that in as amendment to anything because it's not actually noted on any papers here that's come to this committee. So I think we need to be able to put something in to say that that has been agreed because it is a change to the information that the members have been given.
Yes, Chairman, we can do that. It's a recommendation to council, so we can. What we can do is we can make sure that the actual appendix is updated before it goes before council, so that includes that information, and I'll make a note of it in the minutes as well.
Okay, brilliant. Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you, Chair. Bearing in mind Mr Smith's comment about small businesses, it's very welcome on page 79 that Ms White's drawing officers' attention to the fact that small and medium enterprises may face barriers, and that's relevant also to Councillor Pratt's comment about possible future local government being rather more remote and large scale. So it's very welcome to see that we're addressing the issue of local contractors not being put off bidding for services.
I agree because I wanted to say something as well. At some recent meetings, it has been identified something then what you've actually said, and I've actually put it in, and I'm going to read it word for word because I can get mixed up. It says, and this is a view and opinion when I've been to some meetings and working groups, etc. There needs to be a culture change around commissioning and procurement. Now, we're talking about service deliveries here, and obviously contracts. Procurement is neat and tidy and protected, but when you go into collaboration, you can get conflicts. Now, I'm sure the officers actually come across this when they're dealing with contracts, and I think this could get even more complicated and challenging with the future changes that are coming down. And the final part, it says there needs to be more emphasis on doing the job properly. Now, I think if we go to that, doing the job properly, then worrying about every legal loophole. I know that's legal, you have to do that. But what I wanted to say to everybody is that we do need still to focus when we're doing a procurement about what we're doing the procurement on. So we need to focus on doing the job properly and making it so people can work together, and it's just not so strict that you're going to go to the law and sue somebody because they've not done something. So I should have talked to you about that before, and I do forgive me, I hadn't raised it, but I just want us to all think like that maybe in the future, because we're going to have to work together as it comes down. Yes, of course you can, Mr. Wilkinson.
Yeah, of course, Chair. I think that's very right and sensible. And my approach would be, of course, we have to be legally compliant with with the law in our procedures, but equally we have to be pragmatic.
Yeah.
In making progress and trying to make things work, and being understanding of the partners or the stakeholders that we're dealing with and the resources and knowledge that they have to hand. They're not all big organisations with legal backing and resources. So, my approach is very much around supporting our colleagues, our partners, our contractors to get to a solution without being overly bureaucratic.
Lovely, I'm reassured. Okay, members, the recommendations. Sorry, that was very rude of me. I don't know who was first. Councillor Pratt. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, you go first.
It was just a simple question. Do we train people in negotiation?
I would think our officers are trained. Yeah.
We do.
Thank you. Councillor Pratt, please. He's sitting back.
No, in the past, this district council has always offered help to parish and towns. And as this is a whole new procurement process, I wonder if any thought has been given how we cascade this down to towns and parishes. Talking for my own parish council at Southminster, they are preparing documents for quite a large pavilion. They've been saving frantically for many years. They're reaching the point now where they are likely to be going out to tender. And this document, I'm sure, is shared with them, but they would need help at that level. I just wondered how we can help. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wilkinson?
Thank you, Chair. My officers might not thank me for this answer. Of course, I would expect my officers to support parishes, as I said earlier, to support whoever, if we're introducing a document, a process that could be seen as complicated and technical, then we need anybody who's going to engage in that process to understand that. So I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that we provide advice and assistance where required.
And I'd like to defend, not even defend them, the office. They actually have done that in the past. We've had some help recently over a large project, and the officers have been fantastic. It's fantastic. We will do it, but we won't expect them to do it. You certainly can, Miss White.
I have supported parish councils, etc., on previous projects.
Yeah.
And so have other officers within the council. So yes, we're more than happy to support where we need to.
Thank you very much. Right, members, let's move to the recommendation to the council. Little 1, that the Contract Procedure Rules 2025 Appendix A are approved to ensure the council is compliant with the Procurement Act 2023, and little 2, that council approved that the constitution at pages 218 to 242 is updated with the Contract Procurement Rules 2025. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pratt. Members, can we agree by assent?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much. Well done, Miss White. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 11, One Maldon District Partnership Action Plan update. Who? Matt Turner, you're going to take this, aren't you?
Yes, I am, Chair. Thank you. Matt Turner, Health Integration and Community Manager working for Maldon District Council. Purpose of the report, which starts on page 97, is to update the committee on the delivery of the One Maldon District Partnership Action Plan. The report has been provided further to the high-level view that is given in corporate performance reporting. The main body of the report, the summary, is in section 3. That is split into 2 parts. The first part on page 97 describes the work of One Maldon District Partnership, which meets quarterly and brings together senior representatives from local, statutory, voluntary and private sectors. The report summarises how the One Maldon District Partnership aligns its strategic approach with work taking place at county and mid-Essex level. The report also summarises the health framework and the evidence base that One Maldon District Partners used in Q1 to identify and jointly agree priority work areas for this financial year. The report also summarises how from Q2 onwards the partnership used £65,000 UK shared prosperity funding that was allocated to the partnership to translate its strategic priority setting into delivery of a grant framework through community partners that impacts against its priorities in year. And it is the delivery of the grant framework that forms the bulk of the actions in the action plan. Just very briefly, the second part of the report, section 3 on page 98, that summarises the current position of the action plan as at December 2024. Actions were 57% complete, with a forecast completion of 90% complete at financial year end. That concludes my summary of the report, Chair, and it's back to yourself for recommendation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Turner. Members, I was very honoured. Mr. Turner arranged for me to attend this in my capacity as wearing an Essex County Council hat last week. And I was so impressed by what I saw and heard, and that Maldon District Council officers and the leader was asking and holding them accountable. You had to leave at a certain stage because you had to go for an update on devolution, didn't you? But before signing off for completion, the leader turned around and he actually asked to make sure that there was updates given following on the action that had been completed, I think. Was that correct, Mr. Turner?
That's correct, Chair.
Which I found reassuring, because sometimes if you've ticked a box and said you've done it, it can be put to the bottom drawer and forget about it, and then you get new objectives. So I was really rest assured that I felt a lot better. And I also mentioned this at the Caring Communities Commission that I was there on the 14th at 2 o'clock. So that's this week at 2 o'clock, which County Council are doing, which I've mentioned briefly before. I try not to mix my hats, but I was so impressed they allowed me to speak on it. And the way that I see now, especially with the way devolution, Mr. Wilson, you've skimmed on the edges, it's more important. And I suggested the model, what you guys launched all those many years ago, and said that this is most probably the way that the future ways of working is going to have to happen, because you're going to have most probably, I don't know for definite, none of us do, have such a huge gap. The voluntary sector and to try and out any of the problems that there are, and there are problems, this is what this commission's looking at, is the way to go forward. Otherwise, they're all going to get, most probably, allegedly, so I don't get sued, left behind. So I'd like to actually thank you for allowing me to go. And Councillor Driver was with me as well. He sat next to me, which is a rarity. He normally sits opposite me. But he actually was so impressed with it as well. So I'd like to say well done. I don't say it enough, but so well done, everybody. So have we got any questions before I put the recommendation? It's quite a comprehensive. One more. How long's the terms of reference for? Is it 1 year?
1 year.
Okay. Any questions by anybody else? No. Well, I'm going to put the recommendation that the... No, you're all right? Right, yeah. That the committee acknowledges the update provided on One Maldon District Partnership Action Plan and continues to monitor the delivery. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thompson, please. Members, do we agree that?
Agreed.
And I'd like to thank everybody again. Well done. Moving on to agenda item 12. This is the UK SPF, so it's a UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Funds, and this presentation and agenda item is going to be presented by Leander Cable. Miss Cable?
Thank you, Chair. So this paper is providing an update on the UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Funds, which have been allocated to Maldon District Council. If it's okay with the Chair, I'll begin at 3.1, pause for that section in case there's any questions on Appendix 1, and then continue on to 3.2.
I'm quite happy with that. Members, are you agreeing with Ms Cable's recommendation? Agreed. Right, carry on.
Thank you. Appendix 1 of the report sets out the projects being delivered via the funding over the 3-year period and their current status. Currently, 87% of the total allocation has been spent, with the remaining projects scheduled to complete as per the profile of the funding from government. In the Autumn Budget 2024, the government announced that the UK Shared Prosperity Fund would be extended for a transition year in 25-26. Further guidance on this year was issued on the 13th of December, and a report will be brought forward to Strategy and Resources Committee on the 23rd of January 2025 to update members. I'll pause at that point to take any questions on the projects.
Members? I
don't have any questions, Chairman, because the report tells us everything that we need to know. So I can only compliment the officer for a very good report. Thank you.
Well, I've got one, Ms Cable. The Burnham pontoon. Right, now, if the Finance Section 151 officer was here, I would have asked him the same question. The original budget was 250, and obviously you spent 134, nearly 135,000. And that was purely from the UK SPF funding. Now, this council put aside £50,000 or £60,000 as a, now help me, Mr Dodson, because I get mixed up. Was it capital or just reserves? Where did it go? We passed a resolution that S&R, that this council put that money aside. Now, I would like to know where that money is and if it's going to be put aside for projects that are going to be delivered in Burnham on Crouch, because we fought hard for that 60, I think it's 60, it's 50 or 60.
My understanding, Chair, is that money was what's the right term? It was earmarked for that project.
Yes.
And subsequently it wasn't required because it was funded through a different route. So it wasn't drawn down from reserves. So effectively that
It's
money
still
still sits in the reserves. It wouldn't be transferable to another project. What it would mean is that the money still sits there.
But we could ask to go for something else.
And it could be, used for another project in due course, but it'd have to be another report to council to re-earmark the reserve, because it just goes back to a general reserve for now.
Yeah, okay, well, if you keep that in mind, Miss Cable, because I did mention that to you. Okay, sorry, I didn't warn you on that, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. I am actually being quite serious, because that money was allocated and a lot of other areas don't get the money, like it goes to Maldon Centric. It's as simple as that. And I'm sure Miss Thompson actually feels the same in her area. She doesn't get a lot, do you? But yeah, well, I'm quite strong about that. So no other questions, moving on to the next part, Appendix 2. Oh, sorry, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Chair. Just really a question. I notice on page 118, Year 3, Promenade Park Management Plan, a public consultation is now underway with the project due to complete by the 31st of March this year. Is that anything to do with the camp proposals for that part of for the Promenade Park?
Ms Gable.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Thank you, Chair. So the public consultation element was to get the thoughts and feedbacks of the general public, stakeholders, etc., to help shape and inform the management plan. And in terms of the project due to complete, that means the plan itself will have a finalised draft, and I believe is being brought to Strategy and Resources Committee at the March meeting.
Okay, thank you. Appendix 2.
So Appendix 2 refers to 3.2 of the report, which is the Rural England Prosperity Fund. And at the time of writing this report, 19 applications have been approved and accepted by applicants to the total value of £396,320, with £34,320 remaining. Any residual funds will be discussed with inquirers on a waiting list in the order received prior to the closure of the application period to ensure a fair process. Appendix 2 of this report details the grants issued and the purpose of the funding. The current financial year is the second and final year of the REF delivery. Officers and colleagues at Rural Community Council of England will be working closely with grant recipients to ensure projects are delivered and completed before the deadline. No further information has been provided from government regarding any potential extension or continuation of this specific fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Cable. I think I asked this before. Have we got, I don't know if it's this fund or the UKSPS fund, are we going to spend all that money? I think you had projects ready to go, but I think there was, I can't remember, forgive me.
For the Rural England Prosperity Fund, we had 2 applicants recently who would have utilised the residual circa £34,000. Unfortunately, one of them had to withdraw from the process due to pressures within their own business and not being able to bring forward the project within the deadline. But we do have 2 other new applicants from the waiting list who would be able to utilise that funding, and we're just doing the diligence and the application process with them now, with confidence that it will be delivered as per the fund requirement and deadline.
Excellent, that's fine, because we don't want to be giving anything back. No. Okay, members, do we have any questions? Councillor Morgan?
Yes, thank you, Chair. You and I will both recall in the Finance Working Group the concerns expressed over the flail arm and the cost of that as a capital project. And I note IDC Greenscapes Limited, there's a purchase of new mower and topper. Could this be a possible method for that particular problem to be resolved, I wonder?
I think that's Miss Green, is it? Was you listening?
Well, if they wanted to hire, if the council wanted to hire IDC Greenscapes, a local business, to complete work, then that would obviously be up to the contract manager and through procurement, etc.
Yeah.
There's no way the fund can be used to get our own flail arm.
Mr. Dodson wants to jump in.
No, this is a fund that we make available to rural businesses, so not for funding our own internal capital projects, unfortunately.
But I like the way you think, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Spenceley, please.
Yeah, just to congratulate Ms Cable on some very interesting projects, and it's good to see Maldon District becoming a centre of excellence for wine and chocolate and the release of endorphins generally, so it's great stuff, exciting. Thank you.
Okay, members. Mr Wilkinson, I didn't ask you, did you want to say anything? I think we're doing okay. Yeah, thank you. The recommendation is that the committee acknowledges the update provided on Maldon District's UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Fund allocations and continues to monitor the delivery in its final 3 months. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thompson. Members, do we agree by assent?
Agreed.
Lovely. Agenda item 13. This is the Health and Safety Update Quarter 2 2024 to 2025. I think Mr Wheatley might be presenting this, and we've got Mr Baccarini if we need any additional support. Ms Wheatley, would you like to present it before I do the recommendations, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So our Corporate Health and Safety Manager continues to work with colleagues across the authority to embed a culture of health and safety and monitor compliance. The number of accidents and near misses being reported demonstrate that officers are following the correct process to notify their manager and submit the relevant details via a SharePoint form, and this is seen as a positive indicator. Health and safety performance is scrutinised through the monthly Health and Safety Managers Group, with updates provided to the extended corporate leadership team. The Health and Safety Report covers July to September 24-25, so the Health and Safety Audit falls outside this reporting period. However, I want to reassure members that following the audit, an action plan has been produced and good progress is being made to implement the report recommendations. The actions are being monitored through CLT+, and a more detailed update will be provided as part of the Quarter 3 Health and Safety Report being brought to PGA on the 20th of February. I'll now hand over to our Corporate Health and Safety Manager, Mr Baccarini, who's going to provide a detailed update for Quarter 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr Baccarini?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
As Mrs Wheatley said, I'll present the performance for the Quarter 2. So I'll present the Corporate Health and Safety Performance for Quarter 2, 1st of July to the 31st of September 2024, starting on page 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Section 3.1.1 of the accidents and incidents, there were 3 recorded accidents and 1 incident. Of the accidents, I would highlight that 2 of the accidents involved employees and 1 involved a member of the public. One of the accidents involving an employee was significant, requiring a transfer to hospital as a precaution. This involved a road traffic collision of which the member of staff was not at fault. Despite the seriousness of this accident, it didn't require notification to the HSE, and this is due to the nature of it being a road traffic accident. There were 7 hazards and 3 near misses reported, details of which are provided in the table. Members will see that some of these relate to the safe operation of workplaces and work equipment. It is hoped that the introduction of supervision and inspection activities this year will help reduce the number of these reports. In section 3.1.2 of page 125, members will see that there are 2 incidents of unacceptable behaviour. One being received via email and one being received in person by members of staff undertaking speed check duties. This latter incident was referred to the police. Of the health and safety actions in section 3.2.1, page 126, I note that a number of existing actions have been reiterated or supported by the recent health and safety audit. This topic is referred to in section 3.11. Of those not referred to specifically in the audit, our new fire and evacuation procedure at the main offices was endorsed and went live. The unacceptable behaviour procedure has started its review, and the lone working policy is also being reviewed. I would stress to members that the review of a policy or procedure is only a small part of achieving legal compliance. It's the activities that need to be undertaken to put a revised policy or procedure into effect that take time, with resources, working practices, training, equipment and systems sometimes require modification before they can be successfully implemented. As referred to in previous reports to the committee, health and safety policies and procedures are now assigned working groups and document leads, which should help facilitate effective review and implementation. Moving on to other sections, section 3.5.1, page 128. A contractor has now been engaged to update fire risk assessments across NDC controlled assets. These have now started and are on track. In 3.6.1, policy and procedures, I'm pleased to report that our new health and safety policy and statement of intent has been approved by the corporate leadership team and is being presented to the Strategy and Resources Committee next week. This has undergone significant review to reflect the current structure of the authority in terms of roles and responsibilities of key staff. In section 3.7, health and safety inspections, I can confirm that since the production of the audit report, a follow-up inspection has been undertaken at the Blackwater Leisure Centre and feedback presented to the manager. Section 3.10, for accident and near-miss reporting, page 129. This is a section that presents some graphics of current and recent data. This simply highlights that the number of accidents and incidents reported for the busy summer months has been relatively low. It also shows that slips and trips and parks and open spaces continue to be the most frequently reported event. Finally, section 3.11 on page 130 refers to the audit. I will not go into too much detail here as Mrs. Wheatley has touched on this topic. All I will say is that the audit has confirmed a number of actions which have been standing items in section 3.2.1 of this report now and on previous occasions. The audit has served to highlight work that is required and provide focus for prioritisation of the different tasks. This work will be part of an action plan going forward, which is referred to in section 3.12.1 and in the conclusions in section 4.2. That concludes my report to members. I'll be happy to take questions as required.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the report. Members, the recommendations are: little one, that members consider the accident and incident statistics and incidences of unacceptable behaviour reported, and little two, that members consider progress of key health and safety themes as per section 3.2. I so moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thompson. Members, any questions? Councillor Morgan, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's really just a sort of query. I noticed in 3.10.1, there was surprise expressed at the number of accidents reported in the busy summer period. And it seems to be suggested that moving grave digging operations to a contractor seems to be somehow responsible for this. Can somebody explain what possible connections there are between the two situations? Are grave digging pre-contract particularly dangerous activities, or what? I don't understand.
Mr. Beckerin, did you hear that?
No, apologies.
Yeah, can you turn your microphone on and speak a bit loud? I know it's unusual for me to ask you to speak louder, Councillor Morgan, but if you can...
Right, well, yes, thank you. It's just a question on 3.10.1, where it was suggested that there was, it was surprising in the summer period that the number of accidents reported was very low. And then it suggested that because there might be something to do with grave digging operations being moved to a contractor during that period. And I'm just curious as to what relevance the two things have. Perhaps you can enlighten me.
I think Councillor Morgan just wants the detail of that paragraph, please.
So can I just clarify that I understand the question correctly? So the number of accidents and incidents are commented as being low in the summer period.
Yep.
There is a comment that the grave digging activities have been moved to a contractor. Is that correct?
Yep.
It would be that if the activity is conducted by our grave digging contractor, they would probably fall out, unless it involved a member of the public, it would probably fall outside the scope of my reporting.
It'd be them, wouldn't it? Be them, won't it?
If it obviously involved members of the public or our staff, it would, but if it was solely their staff, then it would fall within their staff reporting. Does that help?
Well, not really. I'm just wondering why accident, near misses and grave digging, how the two are connected. I mean, has there been a historical record of sort of particular accidents taking part with grave diggers in the past?
I think, Mr. Beckerin, it's quite confusing, I think, isn't it? It's a little bit confusing the way it's worded.
Okay, I can only, the reference is that obviously grave digging is quite a intensive operation, and it's one where we've had accidents reported when our staff was conducting that service that have reported near misses and accidents. Now that's been moved to a contractor, we haven't got those staff undertaking those activities, so I can make modifications if required to the report.
No, it just needs noting that now it's reported elsewhere and not direct to the authority because it's being contracted out, I think. Is that okay with you, Councillor Morgan? I think that's what...
Well, yes, but it was just a bit of revelation to me that grave digging was such a dangerous occupation.
Well, no comment, but I think maybe. Thank you very much, Mr. Beckerin. It's all cleared up now. Councillor Pratt.
On page 123, we make a point that a parks operative appears to have had a bite from an unknown insect, and we make a long play of it. I just feel that, is that really an accident? Is it an accident at work because you're walking through a park where you work and you get bitten? I just find it bizarre that we actually have to highlight it as an incident on a report such as this. The other point I'd like to ask, we have spoken many times at this meeting about fire evacuation from this chamber. And to my knowledge, through this administration of the last couple of years, we have yet to encounter a practice. And we always say, we're not sure how it would work with members in this chamber of an evening. I just wonder, is anything planned for us to have a fire evacuation? Because the chair always mentions there is no fire evacuation tonight, members. Thank you.
Mr. Beckerin, I don't know if you really want to say when you're going to do one, because we'll all be prepared, but...
I'll take those 2 points. So the first, with regards to the bite from an insect, or what we presume, that was whilst undertaking a work activity. The member of Parks was in foliage, he was undertaking gardening duty, he wasn't walking through the park. So it was work related, and we are obliged to record that. He was actually off work, so again, that's lost time. And his manager confirmed that it actually was quite significant. I think went to a to get some medical treatment for that. With regards to the fire, the second question, I am hoping to have something in place. I do want the drill. I've been asked to hold fire for the moment, and that's all I can say. So there are plans.
Mr Baccarini, you don't realise what you just said, do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
No pun intended. I've been asked to, should I say, pause for
Yes.
a short period, but something is planned, but obviously I won't be able to say when.
Okay. I would like to say one thing before we note this report. I'm very sort of dismayed that our team members are being abused while carrying out their duties. I raised this at the pre-agenda meeting, and can I just say that hopefully, I'm sure you are, and what call you CLT, Chief Exec and Deputy Chief Exec is making sure that wherever they can be written to, prosecuted, police speaking to them, or whatever you can do to make sure that that is stopped. They're carrying out, I mean, I get so many complaints now all the time about speed. It's either potholes or speeding motorists. Now, our true CAM operatives, our CPOs, carry out a fantastic job for this district. And I would just acknowledge, and hopefully we do not tolerate any shape of abuse or form of abuse while they're carrying out their works. I thought it was getting better because there was a time where they were always putting on Facebook the dolly tops or whatever they used to refer them as or whatever they were. And then a lot of people jumped on and said they're carrying out, if your child got run over or you was in an accident, how would you feel, etc. So I do think maybe a campaign, a comms campaign or something positive again, maybe in the next couple of months might be quite good. Especially when you consider that Councillor Pratt and I took God knows how long to get here because of accidents and the danger was closed off, basically. So, yeah, thank you. So can we make sure that is adhered to, please, Mr Wilkinson? Yeah.
Yes, Chair. We do take that seriously, and we will follow up with action. I think members may have seen a communication that went out this last week about the reception staff and us closing the reception to protect our staff. You know, like everybody, we're here just to provide a service to the public and do our best, and we must protect them. And where there's any aggression, abuse, whether that's physical or verbal, then we need to follow up and inform the police and see what we can do to stop that type of behaviour.
Yeah, thank you. Right, members, recommendations are that members consider the accident and incident statistics and incidences of unacceptable behaviour reported. Little 2, that members consider progress of key health and safety themes as per section 3.2. I so propose. Do I a seconder? Councillor Spenceley. Members, can we approve by assent?
Agreed.
Brilliant. Right. Final one, members, you'll be pleased to know. I'd like to thank Mr Dodson for bringing this back to this committee. The purpose of this report, I don't know who's... Miss Hughes, are you delivering this? It's pretty straightforward. Do you want to deliver it? I think she's gone for a cup of tea. Oh, no,
I can give an explanation. I can give an explanation.
Yes, please.
Unfortunately, there were a couple of appointments that we missed following the statutory annual process. So this report is to appoint to those representatives, outside body representatives.
Okay, I think it's pretty obvious, pretty straightforward on the paper, members. Page 133. Recommendation is that the committee appoints representatives to the outside bodies as listed in section 3.1 below for the remainder of the municipal year. I so propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pratt. Members, do we agree by assent?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, agenda item 15, any other items of business that the chairperson of the committee decides is urgent? No, I don't. So thank you very much for your participation, members and officers, in person and remotely. And I close this meeting at whatever time, because I've got no clock. 20:39. Thank you, and safe journey home, and thank you for everything, members.